Right, so we are joined, or I am joined by Ryan Key of the fantastic Yellowcard. So first of all, welcome back. It's great to have you, well, not welcome back to me, but welcome back to the world because Yellowcard has been a bit on hiatus for a while. So first of all, how have you been, sir?
I am amazing, dude. Thank you very much. And yeah, it was quite a hiatus. It wasn't meant to be a hiatus. We had very different lives. We had after we split up, and we had all kind of headed in our own direction, and there was never any thought to the band getting back together to make music. So, uh, sitting here today with we might be closing in on a full month at number one on alternative radio if we hold it for the rest of the week is just one of the many metrics that make this whole thing so unbelievable. The reason we stopped doing that, there were a lot of reasons why we stopped doing this, but one of them was just it was a struggle to make being away from our families for 8 9 months a year worth it anymore because we just weren't selling tickets like we used to, and we weren't it didn't feel like people were as excited about new music we were making. It just really kind of felt like it was time to hang it up. I mean, it was like, let's call this before it's, before we're actually in pain, let's just let's euthanize the band in our own way. And we did, and it just felt like the book was closed. So it's really, really fascinating to have been able to return um, to this and have it be, so much bigger and better than it ever was before. Um, Thought it might have been a flash in the pan with the 20-year anniversary of Ocean Avenue, which is really what brought us out of said retirement. It just was such a huge opportunity to celebrate that record on like the biggest tour we'd ever done. And so, um, but we thought, well, that could be it though, because you can't tour the 20 years of Ocean Avenue for another 20, the next 5 years. It's like, what happens after this? Um, so to have been able to make this new record and work with Travis Barker and stuff, I'm sure you want to talk about all of that, but
Of course.
it's crazy, man. It's just wild to be here talking about it all.
Well, what I would say as well, though, it's you're back, as I said, and the fans are thirsty for it. Like I saw Yellow Card pop up. I was like, wait a minute, what? You disappeared on me, and
Yeah,
I'd moved on, and now
yeah,
you're like
same.
the ex-partner come back demanding I
No,
return, which I will gladly welcome you. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but
it's
I'm
fine. Yeah,
using
I will.
it.
We'll stay in this toxic relationship with you as long as you want. As long as you want.
Cool. But let's talk about the new record and some of the singles that have come out. So the most recent one is Bedroom Posters, and that sort of just recently dropped, actually, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, can you tell me the inspiration behind this particular track and sort of how it sort of ties into the nostalgia of hometown memories? Because that's what I understand it sort of is all about.
Yeah. First thing with this song was I wanted us to, or myself, in terms of writing melody and lyric and uh, finding the direction for this song. I wanted it to be just an absolute anthem, just an undeniable. Close your eyes and thousands of people are singing and waving their arms in the air, just an anthem. Um, but one of the challenges that we faced with this record was, and particularly for me when writing lyrics, um, was how do we make a record at 45 it sounds like we're 25, but we don't sound like we're trying to be 25. It's a tough thing.
Yeah.
Um, so grounding myself in family and kind of my past and the mistakes that I've made along the way, and kind of um, not necessarily, it's funny, the song doesn't really have like this happy ending or like positive turn to it. It's really more about living in that feeling of that time in your life, and that feeling of being young, and that it's gone. and it's not coming back, you know. And so it was a tricky thing to try to dig up some of those themes and not have it sound forced. So I think the idea of kind of this song being about me just living in that moment, in that thought with myself, and not trying to change it, not trying to find the bright side, not trying to not trying to necessarily live in the negativity either, just sort of saying this is over. um you know, and I you do feel that way. So you feel restless. You know, you feel like I'm on the bus and I have to take something to be able to sleep because my brain won't stop racing. You know, these are all real thoughts and feelings I think that go into this. But I think the core of it was just writing a really anthemic feeling melody, and yeah, not necessarily trying to say the past is the past, but because there are moments on the record that really get into that as well about looking forward to the future and and not letting these sort of thoughts and feelings about what's behind us define us or overwhelm us. But this song for me was more about let's just live in it. Let's just live in it and feel what it feels like to say goodbye to a time in your life. Because that's another thing about this record to me is it's really kind of saying goodbye to this entire previous life of the band and starting this new one. That was kind of the energy in the room too when we were writing. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about what the songs are about, honestly. And now you're asking me, and I'm trying to give
Yeah,
it the
make
best.
it up as you go along. Don't, you
Well,
know what?
it's
Don't
just
worry about it. I'm happy with that.
yeah. You kind of
This,
write you write it and you record it, and then you carry on with your life. You know, it's like going back and be like, what was I really thinking when I wrote that?
See, it's funny when you say, being 45 and like trying to not think about the past necessarily. What I got from this album, and this is just my own personal feeling, is it brought me back to that time and it created memories of being in my 20s. And, it didn't make me feel like I was back then, but it
Yeah.
had that wonderful nostalgia hit. But
Well,
let's
that's the
talk
goal,
about,
right? I mean,
yeah.
to make the listener feel those things without wearing it on your sleeve, without you know without trying to sound like you're still in that time. It's more about reflecting on it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So the actual album, Better Days, is out on the 10th of October, I believe.
Yep.
And we've already touched on this. It's what, almost a decade since the last full-length album.
Yeah.
And we have sort of touched on this briefly in the start, but what sort of brought you back? What was the sort of the catalyst for going, we're going to bring Yellow Card back. We're going to do a new chapter of the band. What actually kick-started it?
Riot Fest in Chicago in 2022. So our last show that we thought was going to be our last ever show was March 25th, 2017. I'm pretty sure March 25th was the date. But anyways, uh, so somewhere in 2021, um, I got a phone call from our booking agent we've had the same booking agent since 2001. So that's a really long time to work with someone in that capacity in the music industry and not have not change, like, you change managers, you change record labels. um but we've had the same agent for 25 years almost, so she's like family. And you're still there? I lost your camera. Okay,
Can
there
you
we
hear me
go.
okay?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I got you. I just blurry camera for a second.
Oh no, that's all right. Something went weird on my end, so not sure what happened there. Sorry
All
about that.
good.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
That's fine. That's fine. So Corey Christopher Martin, our agent, she called and just said, "Hey, there's a pretty big opportunity on the table to play Riot Fest next year, and they really, really want you guys to be there." And funny enough, at that point, um, it we had like almost never played Ocean Avenue like full band electric all the way through. We had done it a few times on like that final tour, but it was like not something that we had done a bunch of times. We never did a tour for it, anything like that. So they wanted us to play the album all the way through. Um, and I just thought, okay, that's amazing, and honored that they're they want us there, you know, so badly. But how? how are we going to do that? You know, we dissolved our LLC. We sold our gear. We were like gone. We didn't even have a storage unit anymore with stuff in it. I mean, it was over. And so it took a lot of conversations and a lot of um, you know, personal growth and healing and forgiveness and all those things within the band, and just to get our heads in a place where playing music together made sense again. So Riot Fest was really kind of a test show. There wasn't really a plan to do anything after that. We were just going to see how that one went, and it was incredible. I mean, I don't know how many people were there, but you couldn't see where there were no people. So it was just this huge festival show, and you could just feel that there was this sense of relief that we were back. You know, we were playing music and for all these people, and so that made us feel really good. And then it wasn't long after that that Live Nation came in and offered us this kind of massive celebrating Ocean Avenue 20-year anniversary tour, and that would be the summer of 2023. And you know, even with that, it was the biggest tour offer in terms of like the size of the rooms and stuff that we've ever had. Even all the way back when Ocean Avenue was on the radio all the time, and these shows were twice as big as that. I mean, it was just like, and we had a real, genuine sense of fear. It was like, what do you mean? Like we broke up the band because we were struggling to sell tickets, and now you want us to play, you know, in 10,000 capacity amphitheaters? Like, how is that even reality? But she, again, having someone that close to you for 25 years, she's like family, and she just said, you got to trust me, dude. You just got to trust me that I know what's best for you and that I have your best interests, you know, at heart. And we did, and it was, yeah, it was the biggest tour we've ever done. It was wild. And we were, at that point, it was clear that we had to really figure out like what the future meant for the band, because it was either going to be that one tour, or we had to find a big way forward, you know, because like I mentioned earlier, we can't tour Ocean Avenue forever. And so if we're going to do something new, if we're going to make a new record, if whatever that looks like, it has to really, really matter. Or else that if it's just another record we make that kind of washes out to sea like the last couple we did, then there's no point in doing it, you know? And so we just spent time trying to like seek out what making a record meant. And in a weird rock and roll gods way, it led us to Travis Barker producing and
Yeah.
and playing drums on the entire album.
So
It
that
all
is
was just,
actually, sorry.
yeah. No, go ahead.
So I thought I completely interrupted you there. I do apologize. But that
It's
does
fine.
bring me nicely into how Travis Barker actually came on board. I
Yeah.
mean, what's the story behind this? Because Travis has, for want of a better word, like literally entered the realm of being one of the most legendary drummers out there. I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure. I can't even pinpoint when it happened, but he has. So how did this relationship come about with him producing the record and also becoming I suppose the unofficial drummer for the band at that point?
Yeah. Well, when we went into the idea of writing new music, we didn't have a record label. This is like 20, I'm trying to think. I guess we started in April of 24, right? So this is early 2024. Um, and it was like, well, we got to see what writing songs even feels like. Like, what are those songs going to be like, you know? And so I went to the guys and I said, and this also kind of ties in with what we've been talking about. I said, if I'm supposed to get in the studio and really get back into like what the core sound of Yellowcard is from 20 plus years ago, and try to like find that and build on it again, I'm gonna need some help, because I don't even listen to rock and roll anymore. Like, I mean, music with lyrics just is not something I do anymore. And so I was like, I feel like for the first time in our career, having some friends come in and write with the band might be a good idea. I think, you know, we always, back in the day, we kind of had this stigma around co-writing songs with people, and you know, we can do it ourselves, and we don't need that, whatever. But I just felt like having some people who really have their finger on the pulse of like what pop rock and pop punk music is now would be helpful. And we have a couple of really good friends who are band first, guitar players first, can't come from our world, come from the Warp Tour and bands that we know and love. And so that's the kind of writers we wanted to work with. But one in particular is our friend Nick Long, who actually played guitar in Ryan Mendez's, our lead guitar player, in his band before Ryan or shortly after Ryan joined Yellowcard. Nick came in and played guitar. So they've been friends for 20 years. Um, and Nick has become an insanely successful songwriter uh, and works with Travis all the time. So we had some stuff out in LA booked, and we were like, Nick, while we're out here, we should see what the vibe is, because we've never done this before. What would it be like to sit down and write a song? And he's like, sure, I have a couple days free, let's do it. And between the time we set that up and we were actually heading out to LA, Nick reached out to Ryan and said, hey, I was in the studio with Travis on another session. I mentioned to him that I was going to be working with you guys, and he said, let me see if I can get that time open and you can bring him here to the studio, because I'd love to be in on those sessions. And we were all just kind of like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And so we went to LA, and we went to Woodland Hills to Travis's studio, which you've seen everyone's seen all over the internet now. It's where Blink made One More Time, and it's just an amazing space. But we walked in and we wrote and recorded a song on the first day, like demoed up a song. Um, I had been involved in songwriting outside of Yellowcard, so in the past, so I was kind of aware of how those sessions go, where you just do it, it's like you're just in there, you write it, you record it, you get in, you track the vocal. It's like really, so I think everyone else in the band kind of had to like get their head around the speed, the like kind of warp speed nature of
Yeah.
co-writing. um I did too, because now I was doing it for Yellowcard. I wasn't on the other end as like the songwriter. I was doing it for my own band. um but you could tell from the very first day that we had made all the right decisions, that having Nick on board was like having another band member, and his input was just invaluable throughout the entire process when we ended up agreeing that we were going to make a full length album. But Travis as a producer was instantly, it was, you could recognize his skill as a producer, not just a drummer, immediately. And I think he was crucial to what I touched on a moment ago, like finding that core sound of our band that I don't want to say it's been missing for a long time, but you naturally evolve and change over your life
Yeah, of
and your
course.
life as a musician. And as we grew and changed and experienced life as adults, our music also changed. And so with this record, again, the point is, how do you find the sound that made everyone fall in love with Yellowcard, but not sound like you're just copying it or forcing it? And somehow Travis was able to help us do that. There's this like extremely energized, uh kind of, it feels like those songs that were like the origin of Yellowcard, at least from when I joined the band. And I don't know that we would have found that without Travis and Nick. And we worked with Andrew Goldstein, another good friend of ours, who's a insanely talented writer and is very highly in demand. And but he's a band guy first, so it's not, you don't feel like you're working with some Hollywood top line writer.
Of course.
You're sitting around jamming with your friends, and that's the vibe we wanted. Um, and also the concept of like writing a song in a session and recording it, like that's kind of how we used to do it in the original like van and trailer days. You didn't have a year to make a record, you just had to write it and record it. And we hadn't made a record that way in a long, long time. And I think that's part of why you feel that nostalgia and it feels so authentic and real, because the way we were writing the songs was done in a very nostalgic manner. A way we didn't spend months demoing all this different stuff. We just wrote what we felt and recorded it on the spot.
Cool. I have to say though, you have got the power of premonition, because you mentioned Nick, and he's literally on my notes next to ask about. So I'm
Nice.
going to skip forward a question. You got the sight, my friend. Um, Next, I just want to ask, like, you've worked two of the songs on the album that are currently unreleased. You've got Matt Skiba and Avril
Yeah,
Lavigne as
yeah,
guests.
yeah.
What was it like partnering with these two artists, and how did you approach them to be guests on this record, or how did this all come about? Because
Yeah,
I have to say the Avril Lavigne song is possibly one of my favorites on that album.
nice.
So that's just from me to
Yeah,
you. I love that one.
I appreciate it. I mean, I got to listen to those the same way you did, just as a fan, because I mean, I can't take any credit for Travis. Just pulled it off. We had "You Broke Me Too," which is the song featuring Avril. We had that written, um, and I had sung the whole song. And someone, I think Sean, um, mentioned how much it sounded like a early 2000s Avril Lavigne ballad. And Travis just said, "Well, you want me to try to get her on the song?" And we were like, "Well, yeah, now, of course, now we do." And so Christmas Day, I got a text from Travis, said "Merry Christmas," and it was a rough mix of the song with Avril on it. So I got to hear that for the first time. I wasn't there when she recorded it or anything. Um, and similarly with Love Letters Lost, we felt like a sound, just in conversation. We're like, "This is sick. It just feels like an Alkaline Trio song in the best way." And Travis was like, "You want me to hit up Matt?" And we were like, "Well, yeah, now." And so it was the same vibe. I was just sitting home in my studio one evening, and I got a FaceTime call from Travis. And when I answered, it was Travis and Matt both on the call. And Matt was just like, "Man, this is so cool. I'm so stoked to be a part of the record and sing on the song." And so later that night, they sent me a rough mix. And um, being the Alkaline Trio fan that I am, man, what a surreal moment.
Cool. So I have to say, as I said, like that song is one of my favorites, which leads into City of Angels, which can't help but say it's very transcendent. It got me in a real Zen vibe. I was just sitting back
Cool.
listening to it. Um, but you've released I think four songs off the album so far. Is there any particular track that you're looking forward to releasing to fans and seeing what they think of it? Because, as I said, I think the whole album is absolutely fantastic. It's great. But there has to be that one song that you're going, want them to hear this. Or
Hmm.
have you released it already?
Um, No, I think from a fan like our most hardcore, lifelong Yellow Card fans, I think Love Letters Lost is gonna really just be like a special, like, this just feels like everything I know and love about Yellow Card moment when they hear that song for the first time. So um, I'm excited for for that to be out in the world. But Bedroom Posters, man, there's just something special about that song. Playing it live is really amazing because it's so new, but it's just, you can feel the crowd is just in it, just
Yeah.
deep in it, um, in a way that I can't remember playing a new song and feeling like the crowd was that connected to it. And that's crazy because Better Days is also just already crushing when we play it live. And it's doing so well at the radio and all this. The people are definitely connecting with that song. Um, but Bedroom Posters, which is likely the song we're going to go to radio with next, is just feels like there's something hits different in a good way. So I really am looking forward to like finding out what the potential of that song is. We haven't done radio in 20 years, so putting out our first song in 20 years to radio and going number one is insane. But having another song on deck, like following up a number one, like what is that even like? I don't know. I've never done this before. It's like you're already on their mind. The radio's, you're on their mind. You're like, had a successful single. I feel like Bedroom Posters could just explode. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm just kind of
I
trying to
don't
take
think it's
it take it
unfair
a
for you
day
to
at a
get.
time.
Yeah, I
Just
don't
taking a
think
day
it's
at a time.
unfair for you to get your hopes up because,
Well,
you know, I'm trying not to fanboy a little bit here, going, this album's fantastic, but it really
thank
is.
you.
It
Thank
is
you, man.
an exceptional piece of work.
Thank you.
Um, Now I've just got one more question really for you. So looking back at Ocean Avenue, I mean, every time I look at albums like this where I still think, it was just a few years ago, it's 2003. And every
Yeah.
time I do that, I'm there going, no, I'm in my mid 40s now. I'm not in my 20s. I'm not like
Yeah.
that age anymore. It did put Yellow Card on the map in a big way. How
Hmm.
do you think, the music industry has actually evolved since then? because I'm always fascinated to get um I both new artists and old artists input into this because how we consume music has hugely changed
Hmm.
to the point where, a musician can literally sit in his room, create an absolute banger of an album without the need of a studio or even release the album. How do you feel this has changed for you?
Well, I'm a '90s kid, so I was in high school in what I believe was the single greatest decade for rock and roll of all time. I mean, you can say what you want about the '70s, '60s, '70s, but I think the '90s. I mean, I don't know. Look at the amount of just all time like earth shattering rock and roll that was made. And I know that's like blasphemy because of the '60s and '70s, but here I am. So I'm saying what I'm saying. Um,
Not
but
blasphemy,
something
I'm
I
with you
think
on that.
about, something I think about that time and my upbringing as a fan of music. And this is definitely a guy in his 40s talking, and kids in their 20s are going to be like, "Okay, boomer." But the time where the music was enough, where your energy, your time and your energy was solely focused on creating music and putting it out into the world. Whereas now, I may not even be at a high enough number to say 50% of your time and energy is spent on the algorithm instead of creating. And,
Yeah.
and I don't know where this ends up. I will only say this, that I think that I think the experience of listening to music has been diluted a lot. And I think you're starting to see artists, young and old, recognize what's happened and start to at least talk about this has to change. There has to be a way for content consumption not to be the sole purpose of music. And I don't know if anything will change or not because there's so much money in it now and streaming and everything else that maybe it's too late. But I will say, if you look at our band in comparison to the other bands that we've sort of been climbing the chart with for the last 14 weeks or however long it's been, we're pretty low in terms of social followers, engagement, Spotify monthly listeners, active monthly listeners on Spotify. Like, we're playing catch up from being gone for 5 or 6 years still right now, trying to get those numbers up and do what we need to do. But we have a number one single because the song, and
Yeah.
that gives me so much hope. Not It has nothing to do with Yellowcard. That gives me hope for music in general, that you can put out a song. And I've been saying for so long, I just wish the music could just speak for itself. And in my opinion, this Better Days, this single, this song has done exactly that, because it it climbed the charts at radio, which radio still in the States. I mean, it's still a thing. It still matters. It's like, you think, well, who listens to the radio? But then when you get on the radio and you start asking those questions, you find out, and a shitload of people still listen to the radio.
Oh yeah.
It's a big deal. And um for our song to go to number one and hold the position means that people just love the song. That's what radio is. It's not the same politics and game that it used to be in the '80s, where you could go in and drop a bag of cash on the program director's desk and they'd play the song. And it's also now not the same kind of competition that streaming is, because streaming, it's wild, the stuff that they want to see and the metrics they use to decide if you get on playlists or not, and those kind of really impactful things that can happen with streaming. It's super political. And I don't know. I just feel like this song got where it is on its own legs, and it's just because people like the music, and that makes me smile, because um, I do feel like it's super diluted now, and I feel like there's too much content for people to keep up with. And just because you can make it and put it out doesn't mean you should. Like, it's like, the art of choosing your best work to make an album out of. Like, where did it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I know there's young kids out there who are just going to think I am the oldest grandpa that uses dial-up internet for saying all this, but but I do think there are artists of every age starting to realize that something needs to change, because of just how oversaturated and corporate the at least the streaming side of how we consume music and the social media side of how we consume it has gotten.
Yeah. Well, I will say, don't worry about being old. We have earned the right now to shout at the kids to stop skateboarding on the sidewalk.
That's
This is
right.
our
Get off
time
my
now.
lawn.
Ryan, I do want to thank you so much for chatting to me today. It is a pleasure to have you back. Better Days is out on the 10th of October. I'm saying to everyone,
A
make
month,
sure
month from
you,
today.
sorry?
It's a month from today. It's
It
crazy.
is. Month from
Yeah.
today of the recording of this interview. So yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
get out there. I will say go and buy the record,
That'd be
but it is
great.
available on streaming, considering we've just spoken about what we have. Ryan, thank you so much, sir. Have a great day. Take care, my friend.
All
See
right,
you
dude.
later.
Cheers. Thanks for having
Bye.
me.